Yes, guys, we are back. Welcome to Chasing Green Arrows for our special Friday night edition. We're going early. We're going 5 p.m. Good to see so many with us. I think we've got Sammy in the chat who says this game week is very much beard stroking territory. Dean, he's nailed that, hasn't he?
He really has. That's why I was kind of smirking and smiling as it opened up. I was just reading that comment, and I was like, "It's absolutely at the nail on the head." Yeah, we're all just like pondering our moves, studying a few FA Cup games, pretending we don't care about it, but we do. And I'm sure a few people have gone early with transfers. I don't personally tend to do that. In weeks like this, but there's probably a little bit of value to add if you want to risk. And obviously, there is a big game going on tonight, so it's one that I'd be amazed if most of this community is not tuning into, because even though FA Cup isn't top of the agenda for Man City or Arsenal, it's a big game, and I'm really intrigued to see the lineups for that match.
Yeah,
like that is almost as exciting as actually watching the game, seeing who's actually playing.
Yeah, because they've not had midweek fixtures. So you're like, okay, are they going to go full strength? Neither team wants a replay, though. Because a replay would be played like within, well, I think it'd be next midweek. Like straight away, you think they're going to want to win these football matches and go maybe full strength. But with Pep, you don't even know what full strength looks like half the time. And Arsenal, I guess it's going to be very clear, isn't it? It's a shame the likes of Smith Rowe, who are coming back. I was watching him warm up the other day and thinking it's good that he'll be back now. I think he's now ruled out with an injury again. So this could have been a game where Smith Rowe got half an hour, but unfortunately he won't make it.
That's it. I mean, personally, I think I said before, I'd just play the B team if I was Arsenal. If you win, great. If you lose, don't worry. Just say we're focusing on winning the league. I can see a lot of people in the comments are jumping on the live in a way that they wouldn't normally be able to. Cameron says, don't make it to live streams often. Looking forward to this one. And Heroic Doses says, greetings from New Jersey, USA. Lovely. Love it when people are tuning in and let us know where they are in the world. Hello, lads and ladies. And it's nice to do a different slot every now and then just so we get a few different voices. But of course, we've got the loyal CGA army here as well.
Love that CGA army. Sorry if I'm being distracted, guys, in the chat, and to you, Dean. I'm trying to log in to my Twitter account, and I've got a new laptop, and I've had to do like reset passwords standard every time I get a new device. It's like, what is my password? And you'd think for me, like you'd remember your Twitter password. It's like my main thing. But no, I still forget. So I'm like, I can't do a stream without having Twitter up. Like I need it for breaking news, anything, like especially knowing we're talking FPL and the FPL Twitter community is so strong. I always like to be glancing during the hour we record. So I'm still trying to log in. So I'll get that right in a minute.
Yeah.
But we got a fun stream coming up. We're going to be talking a little bit about transfers, but the focus of today's stream really is about team of the season so far. We'll look at the bonus beasts from the weekend just gone last weekend. And we'll also have some fresh off the press stuff from you as well, Dean. It's still like a bit chaotic at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, a few days left of the transfer window. So we'll be addressing, well, today's been quite a big day. Let's address some of the stuff that's been going on today and what you lot think of any potential new signings, new managers, team adaptations that might affect our thinking in FPL. Because even though we are going to talk about this team of the year so far, we also want to start predicting like how that team is going to perform in the second half of the season and any subs that we might be looking to put into some of those spots. So make sure you stay tuned because we really want a lot of input to this episode.
Yeah, I look forward to going through those 11 or that 15-man squad and go, okay, yeah, Almiron's in there. Great. We all know Almiron's going to be in there. No surprises there. But who do we replace him with for the second half of the season? Because some of those names, you're like, yeah, momentum's continuing. They're going to smash it. Almiron, you look at straight away. He's dropped in price again this game week. You just know he's going to be a sell for the vast majority. So, yeah, it's going to be pretty cool delving into that. But let's get started with our fresh off the press because, Dean, this is going to be over to you with some transfer chat.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, so on the last show, we obviously talked about some potential transfers, and one of those was Anthony Gordon. Which club would he end up at, Newcastle or Chelsea? It's going to be Newcastle.
Thank God.
Yeah. Well, Chelsea complicated this by going 60 million for Anthony Gordon last year. Newcastle haven't had to get to those heights to end up signing him. So they set their stall out, said we're not going higher than 45 on this. Naturally, they've been able to drop just a bit lower than that to get Anthony Gordon over the line. I think I have also said on here that I'm not sure about Anthony Gordon. I'm not sure what level he's at, what money you should even be spending on him. But I guess from a Newcastle point of view, at a moment when they are being frustrated, when they do need something else to try and unlock the door here and there, Anthony Gordon could be a real asset in this second half of the season. Let us know in the comments. Would you consider signing Anthony Gordon as a Newcastle asset? Will he be on the watch list? Just tell us what you will be thinking. It is a really interesting signing, and these opportunities don't come along too often in the January window. He's a very young player. He obviously is a big talent. And it's obviously going to affect Everton. I know he hasn't been like a massive part of the team this season, but he was one of their most talented players in that squad. And I think as an Everton fan, you'll be like, where is this going?
Yeah. Yeah, Mark always offers great value in the chat. I enjoy Mark's interest in Serie A as well, European football. Mark says Newcastle still relying on Almiron and Willock to unlock the door. No wonder they've had lots of 0-0s. It's a fair point. Like, look, Almiron's had an amazing season, and Willock at times has shown he can be a goal threat. I think back to when he was on loan from Arsenal, he had a really good loan phase, which is why they made that deal permanent. But you do look at it and think, are they a little bit one-dimensional? They're certainly a defence-first team, but if they're going to be relying on counter-attacks, they've just signed someone, or they're going to be signing someone in Anthony Gordon, who is the second fastest player in terms of kilometres per hour in the Premier League this season. Mudryk tops him by 0.1 in his 20-minute cameo against Liverpool. He's already the fastest player in the league. So I look forward to seeing how he smashes that record. But yeah, Anthony Gordon's second. But in terms of his goal threat, he doesn't score a great deal. He's got a worldie in him, but I'm shocked at that price. I mean, it's the standard Premier League club to Premier League club tax and the standard English young player tax, I think. Like if he was Italian and coming from Serie A, or Spanish and coming from Spain, he'd be a 10 million signing, wouldn't he?
Maybe. I mean, that is where the lines are blurred for me a little bit on Anthony Gordon. And obviously there was a moment when he was, well, he was the player. Like he was the player of the moment. I mean, that seems a while. I can't even remember exactly when it was. It was that long ago now.
It sort of kept Everton up, didn't it? It was kind of, he had a few cameos which were associated with, Everton are now safe.
Basically that, yeah. Anyway, just to carry on this conversation with an Everton theme, Sean Dyche heading to Goodison Park. Maybe that's why Anthony Gordon left. No, look, I think actually this is perfect. I watched Everton at the weekend and I came away from it thinking that is a team that needs to start playing long ball. They need to skip the midfield when they're building play. They need to go long, get it up to Calvert-Lewin or another, hold the ball up, try and win a foul, try and get little nicks, get crosses into the box, play off set pieces, try to get narrow wins. They've got a good midfield, so they can try to use that to their strength when they haven't got the ball. I think Sean Dyche might actually be ideal for this, and I think Bielsa was actually going to be completely the wrong way to go at this moment in time. They don't need a footballing philosophy right now. They need points in the bag. And Sean Dyche is going to know how to do that. Sean Dyche, I know, has had his eye on this job for a good few weeks now, and he wasn't sure. He was hopeful, so I'm told, but wasn't sure he'd actually get the chance to go for this because Everton always have such ambition to actually go and make a statement like they did with Benitez and things like that in the past.
Koeman.
Yeah. And I know it's not sexy to get Dyche. I know that there'll be a lot of memes going around once his reign gets underway and all that kind of stuff. But on the whole, he was pretty successful with Burnley and he had a strategy that helped him do that. There's a couple of players in the Everton team that he will definitely optimise.
He's worked with Tarkowski at Burnley, and they're going to start keeping clean sheets, so I might just have a look at an Everton defender. He's also worked with Dwight McNeil, who Everton paid a bit of money for. So
that's been a strange signing so far. He needs to change the fortunes of that one.
Yeah, and Calvert-Lewin as well will obviously be you'd think he'd be a Dyche-type player, knowing you can go long to Calvert-Lewin and get crosses in for him. It's great seeing so many new faces in the chat. NK and Leo and Shad. Good to see FPL Big Ed. Had a comment from our Chads, who I don't think we see a great deal, but our Chads, that is so good to know that you recently, I never tweet about the book anymore. I don't think I've mentioned it in probably
maybe once.
Like early on. But I got a bit of a reputation, Dean, because at the time when this book was out, every stream I was on, and I was on a couple a week, I was just holding it up and going like, you can buy it now. Here's the link in the description. And I've not done it for years properly. It's about 4 years old, this book, but there's still loads in there, which is, I think, worth reading and still kind of pretty timeless. So it's been reduced to £5. We ship around the world, and I've put the URL in the chat.
Do you send them out?
Check it out. No.
Oh.
No. If I sent them out, I think I'd have to charge more than £5 just for the time. Just for the time. But we do post anywhere in the world. I think postage, if you're in like Australia, might cost something like $20.
Worth it.
But it's absolutely worth it when you're only paying £5 for this gold.
Yeah. And we're dishing out all this free content on here every week.
Mate,
Help Gianni.
I can't believe I've never sent you a copy. Or like, I went through a phase as well as like anyone I met sort of in the football world. Let me send you a copy. So seeing as I now see you as a mate, as well as someone in the footballing world, I have to send you one of these, and I have to send Mus, our producer, also a copy as well.
Yeah, well, I could definitely do with the tips, mate. I still think I'm probably missing some of the fundamental rules of this game somewhere along the line.
Yeah, there's plenty in there, mate, and I still think that they're in date. It's also forwarded by Jules Breach, which is pretty cool.
Is it?
So it's worth reading just for her comments.
Yeah, definitely. That must have been a pre-fame Jules Breach as well, because she must have just been on the cusp of her breakthrough 4 years ago.
Yeah, I got in there before she charged the big bucks, mate. Yeah, I did well there. Signed copies for CGA members. Yeah, I mean,
yes.
Yeah.
Just say yeah.
Yes. I actually I got asked to sign a couple of copies at Fest, and it was brilliant. I felt so famous. It was amazing. I was like, do you really are you winding me up here? Okay, yeah, I'll sign.
Couldn't sleep that night. Got to your head.
So there we go. Thanks, guys. I hope you're hitting the like button and subscribing. We're usually doing 7 p.m. time slots, but a little bit early today. We'll have a slightly different Friday or Thursday stream next week, because of course it's deadline day next week. But we'll be back Monday at 7 as always. So Mondays and Fridays at 7 are our usual time. But please do hit the subscribe button. We do have a question before we move on. You'll probably have a couple more points, team. But NK asked about Nonto. Nonto or Nonto. Okay, is it too late to move to him, or is that a transfer we like? Like a lot perhaps looked at that Brentford at home fixture for Leeds and thought Brentford at home plus double game week, let's bring him in, and he blanked. But Leeds still looked the better team, and David Raya was inspired. Nonto is still the main man in that Leeds attack. He also got 90 minutes. Now, they were subbing off the likes of Harrison and Rodrigo. When a player's still getting 90, you just know you can back him. You know the manager really wants him on the pitch at all times, especially when he's making other attacking subs around him. So in terms of being a nailed player for the double, if he stays fit, Nonto's as nailed as any Leeds attacker at the moment, and I still like him for that double.
Yeah, I mean, there's a small chance that Leeds do still sign a forward before deadline. So it's probably worth just holding off for now, seeing as the deadline for transfers is Tuesday, I think. So just wait for now. But I imagine it doesn't matter anyway. Like he's too important for that team. We're not going to sign someone to replace him right now. So yeah, I think I would go for that. By the way, Ali Mack has had an absolute dig at you, mate. If you can find a copy unsigned, it's worth a lot of money.
Love that. Leo Rayners asked about any tips. He's 7K in the world. The only tip I can give you, Leo, is read the book. Read and buy the book.
Yeah, I mean, we should be asking you tips if you're that high, Leo.
7K, and say I'm on 220K, mate. So maybe it should be the other way around.
Yeah.
Grant asks about Newcastle paying 40 million for Anthony Gordon in one upfront payment with an additional 5 million performance-rated add-ons. That's what we've seen released today. Huge help
they
for
originally
FFP purposes.
They originally started with 30 up front and wanted to pay 10 to follow that, but that wasn't going to work for them. And yeah, basically they've had to work on getting around that. So yeah, there's still a good deal with Newcastle's eyes. Also, don't forget, in terms of FFP, Newcastle qualified for the Champions League. Suddenly the ceiling's lifted a bit.
Yeah.
Suddenly they've got more scope, So like any transfers they're making, they have tried to resist spending big money as much as possible because they don't want to get caught out. But a deal like that, they're quite confident with. So Mark saying Leeds already signed a striker this window. Yeah, I was talking about the fact today they were linked with Tete this morning at Lyon, and quite strongly. They did have interest in that, and that has been looked into. But Yeah, there are a couple of others on their radar, I'm told. It's not likely that Leeds do sign another forward, but the right player at the right price, I don't think they would turn it down, because they do want to back Jesse Marsh, and they are aware that the teams around them are investing, and they really, really don't want to drop into that bottom three, because the value of the club obviously gets a massive hit, and they're trying to protect that at the moment.
Yeah, Westy McKennie as well. 30 million is a strong link, and
Yeah.
Leeds have loved their American players. And look, they'd have Aronson, McKennie, and Tyler Adams in the middle. Like that could be a USA 3. It's not, because Musa's so good, but that's pretty exciting. I'd love to see McKennie in the Prem.
Oh yeah. He's had his eye on it for a little while. I mean, even when he left Schalke, there were Prem teams interested, and I think he was tempted, but then Juve came along, so
It was a
obviously he
free
went for it.
deal, wasn't it? I think. And Juve love a free transfer, big wages, free
Yeah.
transfer.
He just hasn't quite cracked it at Juve. I mean, to be fair, he's been there in a time of complete disarray, to be fair. But yeah, this will be good for him if it can get over the line and get in there, because it's the perfect place. Jesse Marsh, not going anywhere for the time being, and yeah, USMN Leeds, or whatever we're going to call them, looking good.
He's so good. That'd be pretty cool. So, Dean, ahead of the window closing on Tuesday, are there any moves that you think like could really shock us, or any sort of big value moves before we move on to our bonus beast feature? Zaniolo to Bournemouth just is like, if that happens, I'm going to be absolutely devastated, knowing that AC Milan want this player. Zaniolo tipped a couple of seasons ago to be the brightest spark in Italian football, like the next one to come through and sort of replace the Totti and Del Piero era. And since then, there's been lots of other players that have perhaps edged it, like the likes of Chiesa in terms of attacking players. But the fact that Bournemouth can outdo AC Milan in a transfer market just shows how crazy this Premier League is.
Yeah, I mean,
almost.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good way to phrase it. I think that I've checked this out, and the term that was used was, yeah, Daniel is happy for his agent to check out what's on offer.
Okay.
Which, I mean, doesn't fill me with hope that he's doing
No.
this for the right reasons.
No.
That doesn't completely sound like footballing reasons to me, if that's actually what's happening. Zaniolo is too good to just be taking a move for money at the moment, so I hope that that's not the case. Also, I don't know, but Bournemouth going to play the style of football that sees Zaniolo thrive? Not sure. Managers under big pressure at Bournemouth at the moment. Like, things not been going particularly well. It's not an environment, I think, that is made for a player like him. I mean, I don't want to be too down on Bournemouth here. I'm being careful just in case there's any Bournemouth fans watching. But
it's the weakest move of all the Premier League teams it could go to.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, honestly, for him to be like a potential golden boy of Italian football not that long ago, to then see him at Bournemouth at still the age of 23, it's heartbreaking. That would be.
Yeah, I mean, also, I think we should be aware that if other clubs would get an eye on, I mean, Tottenham had an eye on this last week. I can't believe that could get far down the line with at least someone trying to hijack it. One more team to come in, because he's too
Newcastle.
good.
I mean, he's every bit the player of Anthony Gordon, and it's embarrassing that, like, I wouldn't even put him in the same breath. Yeah, of course, Gordon's got the higher price tag because he's English.
Yeah, I mean, Zaniolo's better than Anthony Gordon. I can say that quite comfortably at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. What next? Barella at Forest, says Mark. Well, fortunately, Barella isn't. I think everyone knows the value of Barella, who I'd definitely put in a top 5 in his position in the world.
Yeah, that he'd have to be going to a top team if it was to happen, for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's going to be a weird few days, I think. Obviously, Arsenal 60 million bid for Caicedo, which is kind of pointless. Like, it's not enough to get him. It's not enough to convince me that they're even serious about it. You got to pay 80 million to get Caicedo. I'm told that Arsenal wouldn't go to 80 million anyway, so why are they even bothering with the conversation? Would Caicedo even get into that Arsenal team at the moment?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think he would. That's what confused me even more. I'm like, why go and spend that much money and break up a midfield? You don't want to unsettle that. Like, if you're genuinely worried that partnership isn't going to last much longer, then fair enough. Maybe there is big concern about that. bigger than they've let on. But beyond that, I'd say you can probably get through this season. And if they really are keen on Declan Rice, and there's constant briefing that they are serious about Declan Rice, well, you don't go and drop 70 million on Caicedo a few months earlier, do you? Can't see it. Very strange.
Yeah, that's a fair point. We've got loads of questions about transfers. We'll try and get to them later. Chiesa has been mentioned. We've had Nuclear asking questions about Forest and again, more Leon talent. Colm, we'll try and get to your answer later in the show as well. But we're going to keep things moving because we've still got our bonus points feature. So we're going to go back to FPL. And then also, it's time for team of the season so far. This is FPL team of the season so far. But let's move on. And as I say, before the end of the show, we'll try and get some of those transfer questions back for Dean. But let's check out now our tips and chips. Here we go. Right. So every week now, we're going to be picking out 4 players. Now, 4 players that finish top of the bonus points for their team over the game week just gone. So look, we can look back game week 21, and this is a really interesting one because this is a guy who Conte clearly likes. And off the back of the World Cup, we were looking at Doherty thinking that's a good pick, and he was looking good, Doherty. But as soon as Emerson was back to fitness and a little bit of form back in the team, and it was amazing to see him get 3 bonus points because usually when Spurs win 1-0 and Harry Kane scores the goal, the way the bonus point system works, it massively, massively favours strikers when they score goals, right? So when we look at the other 3 players, you're going to see some forwards in there. No surprises at top. Well, Harry Kane didn't feature. You can see him there, 24 in the BPS. He needed Davies 29 to get a single point. Now, Harry Kane missed a big chance, which massively works against you. That's minus points. But Emerson Royale, really good. Clearances 6, ground duels 5-1, accurate passes over 80%. He had about 60 touches in the game, 30 passes. So the stats were good. And Emerson, he's so high. We saw him score recently as well. Was it against Man City? Emerson got a goal. Of course, we know what Conte wing-backs do. But I feel like Emerson's even more advanced than Perisic or Sessegnon, whoever's at left wing back, which is surprising because Emerson, for me, is the weakest footballer of all the wing backs at Spurs. But he seems to be the one that pops up in the box the most. It's 4.9, Dean.
Yeah. I mean, the problem here, Tottenham obviously trying to sign Pedro Porro at the moment. And if that happens, then Tottenham have got, well, at the moment, like 4 right backs. And 3 is too many, let alone 4. So I'm not sure really what happens there. If Porro's signed for Tottenham, then personally, I think Doherty or Emerson's going to have to go because there's no way you can manage that situation and keep those 3 players happy throughout the rest of this season. You're at least risking discontent. I know Conte doesn't mind a bit of conflict, but it seems like something they could probably do without. There was a report at the beginning of this window that Emerson Royale was being made available for transfer. I heard that Fulham would actually even look at that down that path if they failed to sign Cedric at one point. So let's see really whether that Porro deal gets done. It sounds like Tottenham do still have quite a bit of confidence over it. Jed Spence obviously not going to be figuring at the moment. He'll be out. So this was really interesting. I was obviously at the game and Emerson stood out. Like Emerson had a really good game, which was a bit annoying. Like I'm constantly hearing about how rubbish he is, and he turns up at Craven Cottage and has a game of his life. But it was genuinely good. Yeah, it was.
It's funny that you could be linked though, because I look at Tete and think he's a better right back than Emerson, but I really, really don't rate Emerson. But you're right, he did have a good game and he deserved the 3 bonus. Worth noting, those 4 right backs, like you mentioned briefly there, Jed Spence. I remember you saying, Dean, when he signed, I think he was part of our kind of source meter. And you had said it's likely he was going to join Spurs. He joined Spurs. And then I think after a couple of game weeks, you said, look, I'm hearing that it's a very good chance that he'll end up going on loan, or it was your prediction that he'd go on loan in January. And I think a few in the chat, and certainly I even went, really? Like, would they? But from day one, Conte made it clear it wasn't his signing.
Yeah.
You know what Conte is like with younger players. And I think from an FPL perspective, we're going to see Jed Spence playing for a Premier League club very soon, like for the second half of the season. And if we do, he's 4.1 million. If he pops up at Leicester, he's been linked, or I don't know, a Fulham, and he's starting games, 4.1 for a Jed Spence in FPL is going to be absolute gold.
Yeah, Fulham, Southampton, Palace, Leicester.
Palace, yeah.
Any of those teams, and you're thinking, oh, actually, there's something there. Obviously, he's going to have a bit of determination and motivation too. You're right. It was almost an open secret from the people I was speaking to that Spence wasn't going to get a look in this season, and that it was almost certain he would be loaned out in the winter window. So, yeah, it's a part of, I guess, his growth. He's going to have to deal with that and bounce back from it. But yeah, it was always a club signing rather than a Conte signing, and that is something you have to compete with. But very interesting if he does make a transfer.
Good stuff. FPL Madridista says, "Hi guys, good to see you back. Why can't I find the super chat in the live? We actually don't have super chat yet, but it will be coming at some point. But like super chat's great, and you can obviously pay to ask us questions. But we're also very happy answering any questions at any point. Hence picking that one out. So yeah, still get your questions in, dude, and we'll try and get
make the most of the freebies, Madridista.
Well, this is one of our 4. This was a surprise package of the 4. And then look, they might become a little bit more predictable. So let's have a look what we've come up with. So this was Emerson. Next up, we've got, we go to another fixture, of course, part of Game Week 21. And that was Matoma. Now, I was at the game watching Matoma. And whilst I was watching the game, I was actually checking bonus points live. That's how much I care about FPL. And my mate was like, get a life, dude.
I've never heard of this or never seen this anyway.
It's I have to be checking because I was going to buy Solly March. If Matoma gets 3 bonus as well as the 7 points, I'm going to be absolutely devastated. And of course, he went and got a 10-pointer. Now, what pushed Matoma up from 1 or 2 bonus points to 3 bonus points was the big chance he created for Solly March. That was annoying. But so it felt like he got the assist points for that anyway, even though March missed. But look, 46 passes. Successful passes only 10. I'm surprised at that at 46. That's a slightly higher percentage rate than 39, I think. We'll have to double check that. But the expected assist was 0.2, but the wonder goal was there. He was heavily involved, is what we're saying here. And I think his pass completion was probably way higher than 10 out of 46. But yeah, 3 bonus points. Looking good, Matoma. Let's move on to Nketiah up next. And you'll see the fixtures are definitely there for Matoma. Nketiah, look at that XG, Dean. 1.85. XG, 1.85. That's crazy.
Yeah, that is.
He's good. He's good. I know he got a couple of goals, but he's. I think they look maybe stronger with him in than Jesus. I don't know. They're different
More
players.
threatening. Yeah, they play differently, don't they?
But when Jesus is back, and he's not going to be back for a month, probably 2, he's not going to walk straight back in the 11, is he? They'll just share minutes.
I mean, it'd be very harsh, wouldn't it? I mean, you would imagine at least at the start they'll just ease Jesus in, and that's a luxury to be able to do that. I mean, I don't think they expected Nketiah to do quite this well. I think they hoped, and they've had him at the club a long time. They know what he's capable of, but to take that step up, especially in a team that's like pushing for the title, maybe it helped that there was so much confidence around him that he's just been able to kind of ride that wave. And as a striker, that's all you want, isn't it? Like your game's built on confidence, and the amount of chances he's got, the type of chances that are being laid off for him, is perfect. I mean, he's good enough in front of goal that he's going to convert chances, and the type of opportunities that have been laid up for him have been ideal. So, Nketiah, I haven't actually contemplated getting him to my team up to now, but yeah, it's a big decision to make, especially while Jesus is out, and there's absolutely no doubt of him starting every week.
Yeah, I think so. Absolutely smashed it there. Saka as well, by the way. Like, he looked the standout in that midfield. And I know Odegaard's amazing and a great FPL buy. And I know Martinelli's been good. But Saka, if you can afford it, and he has the penalty appeal, we've not seen him benefiting from pens, he's definitely the pick. So there we go. Nuclear Atoms. Gianni, I don't watch too much content for nothing. I mentioned about banking a transfer this week in your Insta Live, and I'm glad I waited one more week for a Brighton midfielder. And for those that waited, well done. My response to that, though, Nuclear, is sure, I was the wrong end of the deal there, but I could have very, very easily gone Matoma. It was a 49-51 decision. If I'd gone Matoma, I'd be 10 points better up. Sometimes being patient is a little boring. Leicester were there to be got at. Massively, Leicester were there to be got at. And I think it was clear Brighton were going to go and score goals. And what did they do? They scored 2+ goals. And I think they'll continue to do that. And against Bournemouth, I think you want a Brighton player in your team. But now there's double game weeks around the corner, Nuclear. With those 2 amazing transfers you've got, tell me, are you buying United and Leeds players because they've got a double game week? Yes, you are. You're not going to have a Brighton midfielder, are you, for that Bournemouth at home fixture? And they're also going to bag loads of points. So we'll review this in a week. Keep us posted.
Good defence, mate. Love it.
Let's move on to the next bonus points. Beast Kieran Trippier. I mean, he is the FPL player of the season. He gets bonus every week. In this particular game, Dean, no goal, no assist. So you're competing with probably the 10 other defenders on the pitch, right? The 2 goalkeepers and the 2 back fours. Which of those 10 defenders in a 0-0 is going to mop up the 3 bonus? Well, if you get a yellow card, you're probably not going to do it because you massively get minus points. Trippier got a yellow card and he still got 3 bonus.
It's just
unbelievable.
Unreal. Yeah. What is it? What is the specific thing that gives him it?
It's the crosses. The crosses is huge.
Right.
And that adds that expected assist, so 1.07.
Okay.
So he's creating tons of chances, but also successful crosses. And because he takes set pieces, corners from both sides, they all count as well. So it massively helps that he's on set pieces, but also Dan Burn doesn't really get forward. And therefore the reliance for Trippier to be the outlet is just time and again, they feed him on the right.
True. Yeah,
but I mean, centre-backs can mop them up by just clearances, interceptions, tackles. But again, the Newcastle back lines, they often have more than 50% possession. So they're not up against it. They're amazing, but they're not usually up against it. And you see there, like Gaita got a couple. I think Gaita ended up making like 7 saves. Usually a keeper makes that many saves. They smashed a bonus, but not when Trippier's there.
Interesting, yeah.
Yeah,
he's player of the season.
It's just a very easy additional 3 points for your team every week. Like they really do add up, and we'll see the totals next up when we go through team of the season. And he has been exceptional. I think he's actually had a price rise already this week. So people are still making transfers, and people still don't own him. 68.7%. I can't remember a defender ever being that highly owned, even in the days of Trent being amazing.
Yeah, I wonder what his price will be next season.
The record for a defender, Dean, is John Terry was once, I think, 9 million.
9 million?
It was at 8.5 or 9. Leighton Baines was 8.5 as well. But I think John Terry started at 8.5 and maybe went to 9. But yeah, ridiculous that, isn't it? But John Terry went through a phase of scoring tons of goals. Headers from corners, but still. They weren't as good as Trippier, Baines or Terry.
If Trippier's 9 million, I'm not sure I'll have him anymore.
Yeah, I don't know what my ceiling would be. How much would you pay for Haaland next year?
Oh, I'll have a drop off only in form. No. I don't. 13, probably.
Yeah, you would. I think we'd all pay 13. Let us know in the chat, guys. What would be your limit for Haaland next year? I think the most expensive players.
I think they should set him like at something silly. I think they should put him I think they should put him up to 15, because then it's a real test to see if you actually want to go there or if you want to be a bit smarter with your money.
Yeah.
That would change the game for next season. If it's 13, I think everyone would still take him. At 15, you've got such a decision to make as to whether you go and get it, and they can just back it out. They say, "Look how many goals he scored. Of course, he's 15."
Yeah, I like that. And especially if the other Man City players are all like sub 10, you could say, well, someone's got to get the assist every time he scores. So I'm just going to buy 3 Man City mids at 7 million each.
Yeah.
Marks is 13, Michael 14.5, Big Ed 14.5, CH will go to 13, A Dawson to 14, Babali to 13.
Is this ever gone? Anyone?
I think Van Persie was maybe 14 or 14 and a half. That was the season I think he moved to United. And it was just Rooney assist, Van Persie goal. It just felt like it happened every time. Yeah. But no, Tom, you're right. 14 plus to keep the game interesting. And Dean and I would like to see 15. And
I would. Yeah, I think it'd be a lot of fun. Yeah.
Guys, if you're liking the stream so far, please do hit that like button. We've got, Robin Van Persie, 14 to start with, says Big Ed. We've got 189 of you watching, which is awesome this Friday. We're going a little bit earlier than usual. If you like this time slot as well, please let us know in the comments. we're flexible on that. Mondays at 7 are pretty fixed, but we're thinking maybe Fridays we could move that time slot to slightly earlier to catch a slightly different audience. So let us know your thoughts on that one.
Yeah, and please, time tour.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and hit that like button. Van Persie, CR7 and Henry were all 14 million, says Sammy. So nice. NK says the 5 p.m. slot is better. We'll see what we can do for you there, mate. Let's move on then to our team of the season so far. There ain't too many surprises in here, but it's a really cool feature just to look back on and maybe evaluate what we're going to do for the second part of the season. Here we go. Colm didn't buy Haaland till game week 10.
Yeah,
so I'm asking him what his rank is.
Yeah, 100%. We need to know the rank right now. How did you do in those 9 weeks? That is interesting. Any surprises in this slot? Not really. I mean, Tony is a slight surprise.
Agreed.
That is a slight surprise, to be fair. And at the start of the season, I mean, how many of these would you have predicted at the start of the season? Haaland, Kane,
and maybe Saka.
Probably it. Maybe of Trippier. You might have guessed he might be one of the highest scorers, given his role in the team and that they were going to be improved. So 4.
Yeah, max.
4, I'd say. And if you include the bench, then obviously De Bruyne.
Maybe De Bruyne.
Maybe Gabriel. But so yeah, in that sense, I think this is a surprise when you consider where we were 20 weeks ago or whatever. But now is the time to evaluate how many of this lot are actually staying. How many of this lot will still be considered team of the season worthy when things are all rounded off in May? Because if this is your team right now, then it's great. But would you go forward with all of these players? So let us know in the chat, out of this lot, who would you axe? Who would you sign? Who do you think is going to break their way into this team?
I'm trying to work out if this team comes in budget, and I think it's going to be just over. The starting 11, I've just been on my calculator as you're talking, 81.7 million. But this is the price they're at now, not the price they started the season.
True.
So Trippier, for example, I think started the season at 5 million. So I'm pretty sure this team would have come in budget, 81.7 at the moment. If I add the bench, we've got 4.7 for Raya, 12.5. It's going to go over, but not by much, and then 5.2. So it's 108.7 at the moment. It's probably about, maybe it would have gone over by 1 million or 2. But that's pretty much, this is
pretty
affordable.
Much there, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that is crazy that you could have actually picked this team. There's a comment that just came in from Mark saying that midfield is so left field from the pre-season, and that's it, isn't it? You spend pre-season coming into this game and you're judging form. Who was it at Aston Villa? Was it Leon Bailey? Everyone was like, "You've got to have Leon Bailey this season." Everyone was saying that. There was a few others too. I'm trying to cast my mind, but let us know in the chat if there's anyone you were absolutely adamant that we had to have in our teams that hasn't worked out. But then on the flip, Rashford is not somebody you would have had him from game week 1 expecting him to fly like he is.
Yeah, I mean, Rashford started the season at 6.5 million. This is a guy that's always been 9-10 million, but has been so bad in FPL the last few seasons that they just went, no, we're gonna take 3-4 million off his price. So who from these are we massively? I mean, yeah, we wouldn't have predicted them, but which ones are we really surprised at? Because the Newcastle backline, the fact they've been keeping tons of clean sheets is a bit of a surprise. Also, that Arsenal backline, there's Gabriel and Saliba in the 11 there. Pretty good going. They're clearly an elite defense, but no Man City defenders. Man City statistically are still the best defense in the league in terms of expected goals against them. But because there's so much rotation there, these guys haven't played 20 games. Yet you look at Saliba, Gabriel, Shah, and Trippier, I bet most of them have played 20 or very close to 20 games.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I mean, Almiron's one I probably wouldn't stick with any longer. I've got him still, I think, but I just don't see him getting back to that form he was in. It was great, and obviously it did continue for a while, but it probably not something you can expect to continue. There haven't been any signs of that before, as everyone's illustrated, while he's been going through that form, comparing previous seasons to where he's at now. So he's probably peaked. It's fair to get him gone. Yeah, it's crazy. I was just thinking about the fact that Salah is like absolutely nowhere near this. Son absolutely nowhere near this.
Yeah.
And they would have been players that at the start of the season you're thinking, well, where am I going to fit these guys in? Just not near it. It's mad.
Yeah.
No
Only
Trent. Yeah, Torben says no Trent. Yeah.
no Trent. We all would have had Trent, and we would have had no Chelsea players either.
Cancelo.
Yeah, Cancelo's been such a good asset for us. I mean, there's 4 Newcastle in this squad. There's 4 Arsenal in the squad. There's 2 Brentford, like Raya at 91 points. He's kept 3 clean sheets in the last 4. If Kepa wasn't in this game as a 4.6 goalkeeper or whatever Kepa is, I think Raya would be in all our teams because he's exceptional value. And again, flown under the radar, he's still so cheap. Start the season at 4.5. And then Tony up top just keeps scoring. Like when Tony scores, he seems to get 3 bonus. He earned a penalty the other week, which was never a pen. He got the pen. It's a 9-pointer for him. But yeah, I mean, the points there, when you look at the totals, those mid-price mids are getting similar to Tony. But then you see the 140 from Kane and the 169 from Haaland. Like Trippier 141. Like those 3 are just absolute stars. When you compare Trippier and Kane, 2 of the best performers, performer number 2 and 3, but Trippier is only 6.1 million, just shows like he has to be in everyone's team. But Harry Kane, I mean, perhaps deserves a little bit more respect than we give him because we say, he's not a captaincy option. We say he's not explosive enough. But Kane's in both our teams, Dean.
Yeah.
I'm thinking maybe I sell him and go for more mid-price players and just go with 1 premium like Haaland. But actually you see this and think, maybe you just have to hold Kane long term because he does get those 7, 8, 9 pointers every.
Yeah, the 3rd highest point scorer in that team. So, and when you see it, he doesn't have to be in great form. He doesn't have to get that involved in games. He just waits and waits. He'll keep making little runs to open up spaces and just hope the ball comes. And eventually it does. And he'll have his touches like he did against Fulham, and then he'll score his goal. And I'm sure there will be a temptation for a lot of people to still get rid of Kane right now. I've decided that I'm just going to stick with him now. He's going to outperform most people that I bring in to replace him. Even if I was to get 2 players in, I just couldn't have the confidence that they would outscore Harry Kane. I'm sure there'll be a couple of games this season when he'll score hat-tricks or at least braces. So you got to factor that in. So he's staying for me. So those top 3, Trippier, Haaland and Kane, will all 100% be in my team, probably for the rest of the season. Look, De Bruyne is right on the outskirts there. He's 1 point behind Rashford and like just out of the team.
Yeah.
And look, at times he's been brilliant this season, and at times he's kind of been absent. He just hasn't really had a consistent season. I don't believe that will continue, and I think that that's probably the big premium player to really contemplate right now, because I think you can push aside like Salah, Son, stuff like that. De Bruyne, I still don't think we can rule out, especially knowing that City have got a lot of work to do in this title race, and they've got to come up with some big performances.
Yeah.
That De Bruyne, Haaland combination too, it's hard to ignore that.
It is. He's been a bit shot shy in terms of goals this season. Remember, he scored 4 goals against Wolves at the end of last season. Summer triple captained him for that. I think it was part of a double game week maybe, but he does have a double in 23 coming up. So if you're with De Bruyne, I'd say stay patient to 23 and then assess that, because as Dean says, that is a big question mark. But the one thing that really strikes me from this team, Dean, is definitely 3-4-3 is the formation to go, or maybe 3-5-2. But the back 3 is absolutely locked. And loads of us started the season, myself included, with a back 4 or 5. And loads of us thought the value was there in the defenders. But at the moment, other than Trippier, it really isn't. And what really surprises me about those other 4 defenders in the squad, Gabriel, Saliba, Shah and Byrne, what do they all have in common? Yes, they play for Arsenal or Newcastle, but they're all centre-backs. This is a first for me. I pretty much pick fullbacks in FPL. We all do. Where's Cancelo? Where's Perisic? Where's Chilwell? Where's Robbo and Trent and Reece James? There are so many good fullbacks that are all way more expensive than these centre-backs for a reason, because historically they get good FPL points, or they've either been injured, had massive dips in form, or their teams haven't been performing. And these Arsenal and Newcastle centre-backs at 5 million, they deserve the respect they're getting, and they should be in more of our teams.
Yeah, it completely flies in the face, really, of what you look for at the start of the season when you're talking about. You're just looking at wing backs. I just want 5 wing backs who are going to be crossing it in and on set pieces, and it just goes. It's just a reminder that that's not how the game often plays out. Like
Yeah.
the logic is definitely there that should be the case. And when someone like Trippier delivers, it's fine. It works. But most of those fullbacks, wingbacks don't work out. Even Reece James, who should be like in this team, he's injured all the time. So he just hasn't been able to climb back up. Like, looks like a return for Reece James not too far away. So maybe he can get back in this conversation. I'm sure if you can put 2 or 3 games together, we'll all be clamoring to get him back into our team. But yeah, it just hasn't been that consistency in fullbacks.
I'm having a smile to myself, Dean, because I was thinking, right, okay, we've listed 5 defenders here. Who's defender number 6 and 7? Are they fullbacks? Are they the guys I just mentioned? Are they the ones that with all the upside? It's Botman and White. More Newcastle, more Arsenal, and I know White's been playing right back, but pretty much we're talking
Where's
about...
Luke Shaw? Well, surely Luke Shaw's got to be in the conversation soon.
Yeah, after Botman and White, it goes Ben Mee, another centre-back. Then we get Cancelo and Castagna, and then we get Luke Shaw.
Okay.
But yeah, Luke Shaw on 66 points. I'm surprised by that, but he did miss 4 games.
He missed a few games, didn't he?
He
Yeah,
missed 4 games straight, and he's had a couple of 45-minuters as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, pretty funny there. Newcastle and Arsenal. Let's move on to some. So we move on to some questions now, Dean. Should we do 12 minutes of questions, or is that a bit too heavy? Should we do that?
Let's go for it. Yeah, everyone's got questions.
Yeah, and we definitely had some good ones around transfers earlier in the chat, so we'll try and dig a few of them out.
I'll do my best. Yeah.
Any FPL questions we can take as well. So look, Carl still has Foden. He's tempted to go Bruno for the 3rd Man United or Saka for the 3rd Arsenal. Carl, you definitely need 3 Arsenal, like not just because they double in 23, but because Arsenal are Arsenal. But then they play Everton away next up in 22. And with Sean Dyche there and the week on the training ground that he might get, I just wonder if you're okay going to Arsenal for the time being. You bring Saka in for 23, and then you sell Foden, if you can, to Bruno, and then you literally bring in Bruno for the double game week if you can afford him for Foden. And then you ditch him. I don't think you want Bruno, Rashford, Shaw long term. You've probably got those other guys. Bring in Bruno for the double, sell him to Saka for his double.
Yeah, that's a lot of logic in your speak. Dean, have you spoken about Sasa Lukic? He's been linked with Fulham, obviously. No, I haven't spoken about Lukic. Fulham, like, still on the mark. I'm just making sure on my phone that I haven't been looking while we've been recording to check all my messages. Just in case Fulham have signed anyone. But I was actually told earlier today that Fulham were exploring also Sander Berge.
Where is he now?
Sheffield United.
He's still there. I thought he would have left. He's still playing. He's playing in the Championship. I can't believe that.
He had a bad injury, didn't he? He had a bad knee injury, and at that time there had been a lot of interest from clubs like Liverpool.
Yeah.
Liverpool actually, I think, linked with Sander Berge this morning. But I don't think Sheffield United would see much harm right now in there being at least some sort of tug of war to sign him if he was to go. They've always wanted to keep him. But yeah, that was one that I did hear, Colm. So keep an ear out for it. I'm not sure yet. I haven't had a chance to check it out because it was just about 45 minutes before I came on to record this that I heard about that. But Lukic is somebody that Fulham have been exploring, but I haven't heard that it's on.
Do Nottingham Forest need any more midfielders or number 10s? I mean, they've got tons of players. I know they've been linked with Gagliardini as well from Inter, but could we see this one happening?
Honestly, they just sign everyone.
Yeah.
I've never ever seen so many transfers in a year. It's got to be a world record.
Yeah,
or a Premier
League record. Yeah,
it's got to be a Premier League record because they've tied an entire squad now. It's absolutely insane the number of players that this team have signed.
2 Brazilians in January as well. Like with that madness of a transfer window in the summer, I thought, okay, well maybe they don't have plans in January. It's because they don't want to react in January. They want these players for a year. They're going again. They're going again in January. It's mental.
Yeah, it really is. I don't know is the actual answer to that one, Nuclear. I don't cover Forest close enough to know exactly who is on the cusp there.
Shad, is it too late to get a second Newcastle defender? Upcoming potential blank sandwich in between games versus Liverpool and City. Yeah, it's a fair point. And look, this is the reason why we haven't gone for that second Newcastle defender. There's the fear of the blank, but there's also the fear of, are the fixtures going to turn around that blank? But I thought this 2 weeks ago, and I went Ake instead of Botman. Now, in that time, I think Ake's had a 2-pointer and a 1-pointer. Botman's had 2 lots of 6. Like, the points are there now. So we shouldn't, and a bit like what I said to Nuclear Atoms about Brighton midfielders, sometimes we're a bit too cautious in FPL and we live for, oh, that's happening in 5 weeks or that could happen in 6 weeks. What about the here and now? Just like Brighton midfielder, there are points to get now. They played Leicester, they're playing Bournemouth. We should have one in our teams, but we don't because they might blank in 25, Nuclear Atoms. But same with Newcastle defence. Like, they're playing West Ham and Bournemouth in the next 2. There's 2 clean sheets there. This is a team that hasn't conceded a goal since, like, God knows when. So sure, they then play Liverpool, Brighton, City, but you wouldn't be surprised to see if they keep a clean sheet against Liverpool. Chelsea just kept a clean sheet against Liverpool. So double Newcastle defence is still absolutely on.
Yeah, absolutely. John's got 2 frees, tempted to move Andreas to Mudryk.
7 million. He's only 7 mil.
I mean, at 7 million, it does look like a steal, doesn't it? Potentially. Does he start?
Don't know.
He might.
I'd love that. I'd love it if he started.
He's got a bit of time before that next game.
2 weeks on the training ground for Chelsea. No FA
2
Cup.
weeks. I wouldn't rule it out. I mean, they won't have any qualms about the fact that he hasn't had time to gel with the team because João Felix went in against Fulham within like 24 hours of signing or whatever. Look, as a Fulham fan, I'm like, hang on, I was delighted when João Felix got sent off because it meant he couldn't play against us in the second game. Now they brought in Mudryk and he's going to play.
Ukrainian Neymar.
I do think that's a pretty good move, John, to be honest. Yeah, I do think that is quite smart.
I like that. I think no one's going to be doing that. He has actually got 2% ownership, but I guess that's just the Ukrainians playing FPL. Maybe, I don't know. But 7 million, it's worth a punt because I think Chelsea beat Fulham.
Yeah, I mean, sadly, I think they do this time. I mean, I was very confident the first game at Craven Cottage, and it was closer than I'd feared. And obviously, we've never won at Stamford Bridge. It's an extremely difficult game. Chelsea starting to turn the corner a little bit now. Squad's going to start coming back together. So I'm not overly optimistic. I mean, I'll go there in hope and see if we can nick something. But yeah, I think Chelsea have reason to be optimistic about that fixture.
Are you going to the game, Dean, still?
I will. Well, I think so, yeah.
And then second question, where are you sitting?
Well, at the moment, I've got tickets in... well, it is in Chelsea, but it's also corporate, so I don't know if that counts as in the Chelsea end.
Okay.
But if a ticket in the away end crops up, I think I'll be taking the ticket in the away end. It's very hard to get a ticket in the away end for this game because there aren't many, and I don't have enough loyalty points. So yeah, I'm sure one will crop up. I'm sure.
Mate, in the corporate seats, I couldn't believe it. Arsenal United, I was in the corporate section. I took my Man United mate who wore a United shirt under his jumpers. And when Arsenal scored, like, we soon realised it felt like it was full of season ticket holders. Like, literally, it was all Arsenal in there. And sort of my mate was like, oh, great. And then as soon as Arsenal scored, everyone stood up and was like cheering. And Nick's just sat there and he was like, oh, I better stand up then because it's so obvious. But it felt, even in a corporate seat, it felt like you couldn't be an away fan. So I don't know if Stamford Bridge is the same. I've never been a corporate at Stamford Bridge, but yeah.
I mean, I guess for an Arsenal game like the thing is at Arsenal this season, it's so hard to get tickets. Like all the members are saying like they've got these memberships and they're just pointless because none of them can get tickets. Yeah. So they're probably all having to resort to paying extortionate amounts to get into corporate. Luke asks about Pedro Porro and any players likely to join beyond that. I think it's a bit unlikely. Danjuma, they obviously managed to do. Porro, if they could get that done too, it would tick the 2 boxes that they wanted to bring in. It gives them more strength on the right. It gives them another attacking option. The fact they have been looking at Zaniolo makes me wonder if a good opportunity came along, would they do that? There is this thing which I've talked about on here before with Tottenham that they worry about when Kulusevski's not playing. They they worry there's not enough life and spark in this team in times of trouble. And look, enough people have called Tottenham boring this season for that to ring true. So I think if they could find a player with some inventiveness about them, then yeah, they would. But it would have to be at the right price. It would have to be at the right time. I wouldn't say it's likely, but there's a chance. I don't know if you're on mute or if I just can't hear you, mate.
Oh, I am on mute.
Oh,
Sorry,
you're
the
on
baby
mute.
was crying next door. I never mute myself. Mudrik is a conversation from Chat Sport. Could he open up space for Havertz? Maybe. He wants Havertz to pay him back for going there. Look, every week I say I'm going to sell Havertz. Then I go, this fixture's all right. And I still think I might just have other fires. I don't know. I mean, at home to Fulham, Havertz will be the number 9 yet again. I might just give him another week. I don't know. I might go Nonto and I might go.
How do you feel about Havertz long term? Because for the first time, there's been a little bit of chat about Havertz leaving, Bayern Munich potentially having a look at Havertz, and Havertz himself wondering how Chelsea are using him. Like, what do you reckon? Do you think Chelsea would let him go or not?
I mean, there's no number 9 if he's not there. Like, Aubameyang's not going to start games under Potter. So I don't know. I'm not surprised to see Bayern linked. Like, this is an elite German player who leads the line for Germany. We forget, like, he leads the line for the national team. And historically, Bayern Munich have usually had those players that lead the line for the national team.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It will be an interesting one. I don't think they'd let him go till the summer and he can be replaced. Lukaku will be back, but I don't see him starting either.
No.
Inter don't want to renew that loan, or buy him. I don't know. I don't know if Havertz is happy being a 9. Again, that's the big question for me is Kai Havertz, where do you want to play? And us fans don't know the answer to that.
Yeah.
He's been moved around so much. If he leaves Chelsea, there's a good chance it could be because he doesn't want to be playing number 9. And maybe then we find out what his position is when he goes to Bayern and plays in a number 10 role or wide right or whatever.
The problem is you then get burned because he becomes the best player in the world. And there's another one that Chelsea had and let go.
Yeah. I think we'd be very reluctant to sell him. And I was encouraged to see his link up with Felix in that Fulham game. I thought they looked good. And I think with Mudryk, again, this will be another player on his wavelength. Havertz is on a different wavelength to a lot of that Chelsea team, but now we're signing players that might join him.
Yep, agree.
So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see. But
Combs says, go and look after your baby, Gianni.
Yeah, I know.
I'm sure the baby isn't just left unguarded and it's own in the other room.
The heroic doses asked about Reece James as well, by the way. You probably keep him if you've gone this far. He is back training. Will he start the Fulham game? No. Will he get 30 minutes? Quite possibly, and then he could start the week after.
Completely insane. Yeah, if you've held on for him this long, like there's a chance he features against Fulham. So he's coming back soon. If you've still got Reece James, then of course you must wait now. You have to wait because he's about to, potentially 1 week away, but maybe 2.
Yeah, we can't rush him back though. We do that a lot with Reece James, so let's hope we chill a little bit. Guys, thank you so much for all your questions. Only 65 of the 244 watching have hit that like button though, so we're slightly offended, but
Yeah, okay.
We appreciate your support.
We'll take it on the chin.
But look, let us know in the comments of this video. So not in the chat, but in the comments about time slots. What suits you on a Friday? Do you want 5? Do you want earlier? Do you want later? Do you like the 7 o'clock slot? That'd be really useful to gauge. So thank you, guys. We'll be back on Monday. We'll have a little different show on Monday. And then again, ahead of the deadline for game week 22 later that week on Thursday or Friday. But make sure you set those reminders for Monday at 7 p.m. We'll be back with something different. For now, he's been Dean, I've been Gianni, and we've been chasing green arrows.